I went to Bermuda College background. I'm not saying there is none. Okay.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
I don't understand. My background's going. Okay. It's all good. Good evening, all. We will start shortly. But while we wait, if you guys want to grab a notebook and a pen so you can take notes, we will share the presentation with you later, but it is also helpful to just be able to take notes and any questions that you have. So at the end, we can answer your questions. Good evening, or we'll start in about another 2 minutes, just giving folks time to get in. So we will start in another 2 minutes. But in the meantime, if you want to grab a pen and a notebook so that you can take notes. Also, we encourage you to make sure that your name matches the name that you registered with, because we do take attendance. And then to get started, we encourage you to please turn on your cameras and connect with us. It's very difficult when we're talking to black boxes. And as everyone knows, in this industry, it's about connection, it's about building a community. And so we're excited that you're interested, and we want to see your beautiful faces, because we know it's some beautiful faces behind those black boxes. So we encourage you to turn your cameras on and connect with us. Okay, Ms. Swan, shall we get started? You're muted.
Yes, so we're mindful of everybody's time. We have what? 12 on the call.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. We want to be respectful of your time. And if anybody heard our ads and heard our radio interviews, we understand that time is important in healthcare. So we want to be respectful of your time. It's a standard in the industry where folks are required to be on time. So we're going to start with this information session. And like I said, I encourage you to please put your cameras on so that we can connect with you. We have a lot of information to share with you, and we know that it's a lot. Majority of this information is on our website, as well as we will be sending you the PowerPoint presentation. Give us a few days to do that, because we do have to run the report and get the email addresses and the like. So if you just give us a few days for that, but if there's anything that you want to check out between that maybe you missed in your notes, you can certainly find it on our website. So we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Karen Smith. I am the program coordinator with the PACE division. PACE is an acronym for Professional and Career Education. And I work very closely with the Director of Nursing and Allied Health, Ms. Kathy Ann Swan. And Swan, if you just want to say a quick hello.
All right, good afternoon, good evening, I should say. Welcome to our session, information session. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Excellent. Yeah. So we have a lot of information. So we'll go ahead and kick it off. Ms. Swan is gonna start, and then I'll kick in to talk about the registration process and how that works.
Okay. So good evening again. As let's say, we work very closely together to make sure that our program is of a high quality. The nursing assistant course, as you would see, well, we're going to share with you what the just give a basic overview of what it is. And in this outline, that what I'm going to share is what we're going to talk about this evening, just to give it some sort of coordination. So as the first slide said, just take a piece of paper and a pen, write down your questions, and at the end, you have the opportunity to ask any questions or any clarity that you need. But we want it to be a very, very robust sort of discussion, so that we can be very clear what you're getting yourself into, what to expect, what we expect from you as well. We're going to talk about the objectives, because you know of clinical rotations. With healthcare education, it's not just theory attending class. You also have to attend clinical experiences in the healthcare organizations, whether it's the hospital, it could be King Edward or MWI, it could be other areas as well. COVID has had an impact, so we'll talk about that. What are the responsibilities of yourselves as nursing assistant students? And of course, of the healthcare organizations, when you go into organizations, what does that look like? What do we expect? We talk about also the schedule for clinical experiences, basically to make sure that you can plan your life as well. We haven't been able to send them out as early because of COVID-19, but certainly we're hoping in the fall that'll be a different picture, a different sort of time, so we can get back to our norm. Each course in healthcare, and like the nursing assistant course, we have a student handbook. It's like the Bible. We expect for you to read it. You have to submit a page to say that at the end to say that you have read it and you do understand and you're gonna adhere to the policies as well. Can you go back one?
Am I gotta go back?
Just one, yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, gosh.
Go back, yeah.
I'm trying to go back. Okay, let me just. Hold on. Every time I click it, I'm gonna do a stop sharing start again. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
No, it's okay.
I'm not quite sure how to I'm not quite sure how to make it go back. Okay.
Yeah, just right click and then you see previous.
Okay. Okay.
There you
Very
go.
good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Swan.
Keep on good, yeah.
My
Unfortunately,
apologies.
individually. One more time. Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Yeah. We're going to share some highlights of the handbook, but you'll still be expected to read the entire thing. Talk about eligibility requirements, the registration process, some costs, financial funding that you can apply for, and some key dates and deadlines. And then, of course, like we said, most importantly, any questions or clarity that you need at the end. Okay, next slide. So the whole objective of our program is to graduate what we call a novice nursing assistant. So we want to give you the entry-level skills and competencies to prepare you to graduate and support the local healthcare community. So it's not just at the hospital. Like I said, it could be doctor's offices, it could be nursery schools. There's many areas that nursing assistants, nursing associates could work, particularly during these times. At the end of our program, okay, we want you to be safe. We want you to be competent as well, and meeting the healthcare needs and activities of daily living. And that could be anything from feeding, bathing, walking, and things like that. And to be able to competently and safely provide that direct care service. And one thing we want to add, we want to make sure you do it in a caring manner, okay? So that patient center, anything you do for that patient should surround that. The outcome should be about them. It's not about you. And that just goes down to even what type of radio station you might put on. It's not the radio station we like, it's what they prefer as well. Next slide. So some benefits of the program is a good way if you're interested in even furthering your studies in healthcare, becoming a nurse, because it provides a great bit of exposure. It's a lot of career opportunities when you do graduate. It's one of the most fastest growing healthcare professions, like the nursing profession. And it's recognized throughout Bermuda. So you don't have to go to each individual organization to get education. We agreed as healthcare organizations on the island that the college would be the educator. And then you go and apply with the certificate when you do see a job that you're interested in applying for. Next slide. Yeah. So just a little bit about the course. We do have two. The one that we're talking about right now is a part-time one. So you will come to school right now is Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 9. We are planning on going face-to-face for at least one of those classes. So you're expected to be in class on campus at the college. The curriculum is internationally benchmarked. Many of our students, I shouldn't say many, but some have immigrated to other countries, particularly the UK, and they've been able to find jobs as well. It includes 144 hours of instruction, lecture time, 105 hours of clinical time. And this is throughout. So you get medical experience, surgical experience, mental health experience, and long-term care experience. Before COVID, and we hope to get back to this in the fall, the long-term care experience was not just at the hospital. We include Sylvia Richardson, Lee Foy House, Lorraine Rest Home, Summer Haven. So it all depends what that's going to look like in the fall would dictate where we go. We also have a state-of-the-art simulation lab. And this is where you get to practice your skills in a safe environment, make mistakes, learn from them, so that you're more competent and confident when you go and take care of patients in the area. So we're really blessed to have that. We're already in the process of renewing the simulators. We have Sim Man, Sim Mom, and soon to be Sim Baby and Sim Junior. And these are just high-tech mannequins that mimic any sort of situation, so you can feel safe in. Now, there are Besides myself and Ms. Smith, there are other people involved in your educational journey. We call the ones that provide the lectures, the classroom facilitators. And then when you go to the clinical areas, there are clinical instructors. So you'll be in groups of up to 8 to 10, and they teach you how to connect the dots, what you learn in school and what you do in the clinical area. We have to get in 105 hours. COVID, like I said, has impacted it. So we just ask that you don't make any plans that are very, very driven by a deadline if you do decide to do this course. Because we've had ones that cannot finish the program because COVID, we couldn't go into the organizations. And once there is an outbreak in the organization, we can no longer go in for clinicals. So we want you to be very mindful of that when you do decide what you're going to be doing. So it's a lot of opportunity at the college. There are a lot of support services that are free to you as a student. We have the Center for Learning and Academic Success. Many of you might be coming back to school after being out of school for a while. We want to teach you study skills, note-taking, how to take exams, or anything, how to write a resume and things like that. We teach you all of that. And while you're in school, this is your opportunity to just leverage over that and make sure you use these services. If you feel as if you need a counselor, you need some other help with doing things, that's class, and between the Career and Counseling Center, those are the areas that you'll go to. And we can either refer you or you can just go yourself. And we'll find out how to do that in the class. The library services are open to you, not just for doing research. They have rooms that you can go in and study, computers that you can use if your computer is not where it needs to be. And then we have the IT support services. One thing to be mindful of, and Ms. Smith will probably go into this later on, is the email that we communicate with you is the college email. It's not going to be your personal email. So you need to learn how to access that, how to keep up with that information, at least once or twice a year, checking your email. In a week, checking your email and things like that. But it's not the personal email that we're going to be used to communicate with you as soon when you start the course. I talked about the clinical and simulation layup, so I'm not going to go into that any further. Clinical rotations are not optional, they're part of the program. You must attend class, and then you must attend the clinical rotations as scheduled. And in the handbook, you'll see what the benchmark or what the policy is when it comes to missing a clinical, what the process is, and then how many you can miss. If you don't adhere to that, it again could impact your success. The clinical experience, like I said earlier, helps you to connect the dots and apply what you learn in class. A bit scary at first, but your growth is, you're going to really see it. And the more clinical experience you get, the more understanding you have, and you're even more competent in the classroom as well. So you get better and better as the time goes on. It also gives you the opportunity to see it on a realistic aspect, just trying to make sure that you're safe, like I said, and you're competent. And one thing I always say, and myself and Ms. Smith, while you're there doing your clinicals, the managers are recruiting. They're going to know you make your time or your dress code. You're going to see a lot, but don't go by that. You go by the standard that's set forth with you with the nursing assistant program at the college. You're going to see a lot, but we want our standard to be maintained. So we do visit acute areas in King Edward, surgical, medical, continuing care. We do go to Mid-Atlantic Wellness Institute. And you must remember, the biggest thing throughout all of this is confidentiality. If you do decide to do the course, King Edward, BHB, the Organizational Development Department, is going to come in, have a presentation, and prepare you for the clinicals, signing off on a confidentiality form, teaching you about the hospital, giving you a tour and things like that, just to get you orientated, ready, and comfortable. Because again, particularly in MWR, you're going to see a lot. So maybe somebody that you haven't seen in a while might be there, but you still have to make sure, like Vegas, what you see in Vegas has to stay in Vegas. And we're very, very zero tolerance when it comes to breaching that policy of confidentiality. There are a lot of things, like I said, going on with COVID. They have impacted our program quite a bit, delaying it, Recognizing that our students, if you do work in a healthcare organization, you cannot do clinicals too. And that's the regulation as it stands right now. You cannot work in two areas that deliver healthcare to residents. And why? Because we cannot have a student importing COVID into an organization. We do not want that to happen because it's going to have an impact, not just on this program, but we do run other nursing assistant programs. We run an EMT program and then a nursing program as well. And diagnostic imaging is coming on board. So we have to remember that, okay? You are expected to be COVID tested 3 days prior to clinical experience. We ask that you go to on the in the morning, and you'll learn more about this. It's a lab testing lab on campus at the college that's free, and you can walk in and do it. I'm going to emphasize it's a PCR. It's not an antigen test that you do. And again, our policy has to be adhered to. When you do get to the area, take for instance, there might be a breakout. You're going to have to wear the material, the uniform, the equipment as well, PPE we call it. And that's provided for by the organization. Gloves, masks, gowns, all that will be provided. And again, if you do work in another facility that delivers care to a client, you're not allowed to do both. Okay, so you're going to have to make a decision during that time, what you're going to do if you do decide to do the program. Can you make sure you're on mute, please? So at the end of the day, we're going to teach you how to take care of a patient in a medical, surgical, and mental health bed if they need be, okay? So we will need you to make sure that you read that handbook, that nursing assistant handbook. And we give you all this stuff. Is easy reading. There's a lot of information, but we want to make sure that you do understand it. So anything that you shouldn't be asking questions that are in the handbook. How many days can you miss? What the uniform is, what customer service looks like, is all laid out in there. A lot of emphasis on the clinical rotation. So like I said, attendance is mandatory. Alongside the Bermuda College policies and procedures, that's usually in that handbook as well. The organizations have policies and procedures, and that the organizations ones will supersede ours as well, okay? Confidentiality forms, zero tolerance for breaching that. And it could mean that you are expelled from the program. It could mean many things if proven. Anything that happens in the clinical area, you have to keep your clinical instructor informed. Communication is key. Don't keep it under, we're dealing with people's lives, and it's important that that clinical instructor be kept informed. You have 15-minute breaks, you have an hour break. Don't try and turn that 15-minute break into an hour break. Got a long list of things you have to do, and you know you only have 15 minutes to do it in. Same thing about lunch. Same thing about lunch as well. And it's just about keeping the channels of communication open, particularly when you're in clinical areas. When you're in class, it's a bit more in captivity and a bit more managed. But again, you still have to keep the clinical, the facilitators informed as well. Guidelines are going to be in place, as in that book again, when it comes to the process when you are unwell and can attend the clinical and what that should look like. Being on time means arriving ready to work 15 minutes before the start of your duty. Okay, not arriving 8 o'clock when you know you're starting at 8 o'clock. You have to arrive in uniform at 15 minutes to 2, so 7:45. Sometimes you might have to make 7. But you'll know all of this ahead of time as well. Right now, also according to our COVID guidelines, you wear civilian clothes and then you change into uniform when you get there. So you bring, and the same thing when you finish, you take off your uniform, put on your civilian clothes, and then exit the building. And you can change in bathrooms. It's quite quiet when you do come to start at 8 o'clock. So you can find a room and you can change it as well. And then you're gonna learn, don't bring a lot of valuables. The least you bring, because there are not a lot of lockers around for the students because there's so many, but we want to make sure that everything you have is kept safe. You have to adhere to our established dress code. We do demand or mandate that you get the scrub tops from our bookstore. There's many shades of red, take for instance. And we are looking at clothes changing that color because the Bermuda College did rebrand, and red is not one of the colors that's in it. So we will eventually be changing to that. How you get to the clinical organizations is your responsibility. Asking about carpooling, about the bus on a Sunday might not be able to bring you so that you can make your time. So get to know the people in your class to see if somebody could help you or make your arrangements. Because when you get into the field, sometimes it might be an emergency or hurricane, you can't even leave. So if you're responsible for your parents or a cat or a dog or something like that, put a plan in place, have a meeting with your family, put a plan in place in case you have to stay over. Picking up child, have a backup plan for picking up your child from school or nursery or something like that. Healthcare is an emergency service, so you have to think about that. And we want to make sure that we prepare our students for that industry. What's happening now, the documents that are required, the expectations we put in place are all about healthcare and how it operates. You're relieving people. You have to listen to report. Report can be started every time somebody comes in. That's standard, and we hope when you graduate, you keep that standard as well. Because I'm going to say it again, you're going to see a lot of things out there, but they maintain your standard. The only thing that should change is the time that you take to do things. Your speed will improve with time. For workout transportation, because sometimes you might be knocking off at midnight or 11 o'clock, and the last bus might be 11:45. You can't turn your issue into everybody else's issue, but you come prepared and you be able to do it. As from the healthcare organization's perspective, we have to work very closely. Smith and I, the facilitators and clinical instructors, work very closely with the industry. Key partnership, collaboration is key. And we've done that from inception. I know you're going to hear, even from students, we know BHB is not a teaching hospital. We don't need that right now. We need a learning environment where the staff are very accommodating, where you are approachable and accommodating. You're very accepting of constructive criticism from the way you write an email. We're going to teach you that as well. One thing I want to say as well, at the end of this course, there's a professional day that we encourage you to do. You'll find out that day, and it's about transitioning into practice, particularly healthcare, what that looks like, how to write an email, what to do when you don't agree with something. Because we've really had to really address some people's approach. And how do I accept constructive criticism? Don't take it personal, but we're going to call you out. I don't answer rude emails. I'm going to respect you, and I expect that in return. Same thing in the patient area, because I'll be concerned if you're treating me like this, how are you going to treat your patients? So you be mindful of that. Don't take it personal. I'm not going to answer your personal emails. If you say, oh, I emailed you and you didn't answer, there's a special email that you use. There's no need to copy anybody else in. And Ms. Smith will get into that as well. We've done one specially for you all, just to contain it so it doesn't get lost in our own emails, because we get a copious amount of emails on a daily basis. You are responsible, or the organization is responsible for information, confidentiality forms for you to sign. There's a data form you have to sign that just tells us more graphical information about yourself, your car number, where you live, emergency contact, and all like that. And it goes into a confidential database at the hospital with security. So there will be an orientation, mostly done on the first day, but the overall orientation will be done prior to. You will be assigned a contact person as well, somebody that you can relate to, somebody that you can call if need be, and that's usually clinical instructor. Substandard care, behavior, attendance, and dress code, even down to making a bed, 0 tolerance. We want you to make that bed like you're in the Army, okay? Miter corners, smooth going. Everything's not wash and wear, so you might have to take some time to iron your uniform. Just be prepared the night before. Jewelry, number of tattoos, earring piercings, and things like that is all spelled out. Those of you that smoke, though we're going into healthcare, we hope not, you can't smoke while you're on duty. That includes you cannot smoke on your lunch hour, and you cannot smoke on your break. expulsion if you do. Okay, so just take all that into consideration. Every year, Ms. Smith and I sit down, we review each program, what we can be doing differently, and it gets tougher and tougher, and the handbook gets thicker and thicker. So as we go along, we want to get that novice nursing assistant that is the best role model that you can do, from attitude to everything. So reflect, think about yourself, and just remember that we're here to help you. We want the best for you. And that might mean being constructively critical at points, at most times, but that's fine. So I might send you an email back and say, you know what, please read this again, and please send it in a more respectful way. Okay, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to challenge you in a negative way, but I am going to be, or we are going to be addressing you so that it's a professional environment for all, whether you're in a clinical situation or you're in the classroom. When you do come to class, if class is on Zoom, your face has to be there. You have to be present. Like Ms. Smith said, it's nothing worse than teaching a blank screen. So do what you have to do, blurring yourself, or do whatever. So many methods that you can do so everybody doesn't see your environment, but play with it now. Get a proper computer. You cannot do this course on a phone. So just make sure you have either a desktop or some type of computer so you can do this course properly. You cannot do it on your phone. So please act accordingly and do what you have to do when it comes to that. The more preparation you do, the smoother it is, so that you're not scrambling around when the class starts trying to deal with things. And this is a bit about the requirements. You have to have a textbook. You cannot do without a textbook. Best practice, reading before class, because you have the schedule. You're going to ask more questions. You can be better prepared. White pens, duty pens, not track pens and things like that. White duty shoes. You can wear sneakers, but they have to be all white. Remember, you're going to be on your feet a long time. And those corridors at the hospital are very big. It's a lot of walking, okay? I talked about the scrub top. You only could obtain that at the bookstore at the college. You need bandage scissors. You need a manual blood pressure cuff. We have to teach you on that. And you get that from the bookstore as well. Not an electronic one, it has to be a manual one. And you take that to every clinical that you have. A watch with a second hand, it could be a lapel one, but long as it's a watch with a second hand. The minimum grade to pass is 64, okay? 74, I'm sorry. And we talked about attendance. You can miss 3 classes and 1 experience. Although you're missing classes or clinicals, you still have to communicate, okay? You don't just not come. There has to be some sort of communication. People are relying on you, and the information that's shared in class and in clinicals is paramount to your success. So we encourage you to do the best. Be that best student, and it's going to transcend into being that best nursing assistant when you graduate as well. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Smith now, and I would entertain any questions. I hope it was helpful, and we look forward to you making that positive decision and us working very closely with you. So I'm just going to step back and let Ms. Smith continue.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Swan. Some of the documents that you will be receiving, and this is just some of them, you actually receive more than this, but these are some of the pertinent ones that we want you to be aware of, and I'll explain some of these a little later in my presentation. Is you're going to get an acceptance letter, and you're going to hear me continue to say that acceptance letter does not guarantee your spot into the program. The acceptance letter just identifies you as an individual who has met the eligibility requirement to be in the program. I'll go through the steps of what is required to be in the program. And we've recently just changed that process to eliminate some of the administration that we were finding with it. One of your most important documents, if not the most important document, is going to be your nursing assistant student handbook. And what we have found here recently is students do not read their handbook. And it is very, very important that you read that document prior to, especially prior to going into the clinical experience, but it is your guide, it is your Bible. Quite often, what we're finding just here recently, and I know we are coming up in an era where folks don't read as much, but that is an important muscle. And in healthcare, details are everything. Details can be the case of life or death. So receive the handbook, and you are required to read it, and you will be tested on it. But you will get a grade around whether you know your handbook. And that's really, really important because it's going to guide you on how to manage yourself. A lot of frequently asked questions are addressed in there. And what you will notice that if you send an email to us about something that's in the handbook, anticipate you're not going to get a response. So if you say, well, that just ignore me, they're not answering me, that's because we've given you the tool and we're empowering you to know your information. It actually makes your journey, it invests you more in your journey because you understand what you're doing, what the expectations are. It gives you a sense of ownership instead of feeling like you have to run to someone to get the information. You're like, I know the information, I know what's expected because I've read my handbook. You'll also receive a classroom schedule, and you receive that by the semester. That schedule is subject to change if situations change, but we're pretty good at sticking with it, and it gives you the topic that will be covered as well as the coordinating chapter that will be in your handbook. And the reason the chapter is assigned is because you're expected to read it in advance of class. And so for anyone that's been out of school a while, we understand that that's a practice that you're gonna have to get used to. The sooner you build that practice, the better off, because it makes for a richer learning experience. So when you come into the classroom, you're able now to have some sort of understanding on what the topic is. You can have your questions. You could just have a much more meaningful learning experience while you're in the classroom, because at the end of the day, the rubber really hits the road when you're in the clinical experience. And like Ms. Horn says, initially when students are going into clinical areas, it can be quite intimidating, but everything about this course comes down to application. It's the equivalent of a hairdresser studying a book and never practicing on a hair. At some point, you got to practice on the hair, and that's when you really determine, do you know what you're doing? Are you cut out for this? So the more you have that foundation, the better off you're going to be once you're in the clinical settings, and you have the why behind you doing a lot of stuff as opposed to, I just do it because the clinical coordinator told me. You understand the why. You also receive the clinical experience schedule. We have to be transparent. In the past, prior to COVID, we were able to give this schedule a few weeks into class. That is our goal, to do this again, but we ask for your adaptability, like Ms. Horn spoke of. With COVID, it's been a lot of bobbing and weaving, where we've had to pull students out of clinical areas because of outbreaks, where students themselves have tested positive and they've had to sit out. So it has led to a way more complex clinical schedule than we've had in the past. But anyone that's entering healthcare, it's got to understand that it's about adaptability. So if you're really seriously considering this program, look at your lifestyle, look at your support system, look at what you would have to do if on the fly you have to go make up a clinical, if perhaps you'll have to do an evening instead of a weekend. So if your schedule is very rigid or your lifestyle is very rigid and you constantly have other obligations, my recommendation is sit it out. Don't apply to be in the program. Wait until you have some flexibility. If your support system is fragile, I'd encourage you to build that up. If you feel that's not a possibility right now, wait it out. We have had students that have attended these orientations 2 and 3 times. They may scout the program out for a year or so before they actually commit to it, because it is rigorous, it is demanding, it is a huge commitment. And then you have your reflection sheet. So after each clinical experience, we ask the students to reflect on what came up, what worked, what didn't work, What were you intimidated by? It gives you an awareness, and it's like a journal for you to see what you're learning, where you may need more strength, how you reacted in a certain situation. It allows you to see your growth as you go on. And then you have your competency checklist, which allows you to see the competencies that you're learning, you're building, and you'll see as you go through the program how you improve and the skills that you acquire as a result of. And these last three documents are all attached to the clinical experience. So upon successful completion of the program, you will have the ability to register with the Bermuda Nursing Council and Midwifery. In order to be a certified nursing assistant, you do have to register for them. We do normally have a representative come in close towards the end of the program, and they will talk to you about what the registration process looks like and how to stay current with your registration. Certificates are typically available for collection 14 working days after successfully completing the program. Now that is a give or take, but we typically try to get them out within the 14 days of you successfully completing the program. Please refrain from applying for any nursing assistant positions until you have successfully completed the program, because it would be disingenuous. You're not certified. You will not be certified. So we just ask that you complete the entire process from the successful completion of the program right down to your registration before you do that. And then career opportunities will exist in the medical unit, surgical unit, mental health, long-term care facilities. Some will go in private hands and some may even decide to work in doctors. So I'm going to talk to you about the eligibility requirements, and a good deal of you may be familiar with this. If not, like I said, this is on our website. So don't feel like you have to take these rigorous notes. Like I said, we will send you the PowerPoint presentation, but if you're anxious to look at it immediately after the presentation, it's all available on our website. So the first step is you have to meet the eligibility requirement, and we have a number of tasks for you to demonstrate that you are eligible for this program. And yet perhaps some of you may be saying, well, why do I have to meet an eligibility requirement? Because it is, like I said, it's a rigorous program and it's boots to the ground running. So if you have some deficits that need to be filled first, we can direct you on classes you can take prior to taking the nursing assistant program, but it is a rigorous program where we are expecting you to come in at a certain level. Our facilitators are registered nurses, so they are experts in their fields. They're not educators from the standpoint of being certified teachers, where they can modify to suit different learning styles. And so what we've learned from experience to keep everyone moving, to keep the momentum and not discourage anyone and leave anybody left behind, we have a standard of where you have to come in. So like I said, it's a number of ways that you can demonstrate that you're eligible. Very popular way is to go take the CPT exam. If that is a pass that you need to take, you would have to contact technicians at college.bm to arrange to take that test. I don't encourage anyone to take that test blind. No one. I don't care how smart you think you are. Definitely prepare. And where we see people fall short is typically in the math. The English we're using all the time and the type of math that you are tested in. If you haven't done it in a long time, it's not that you're not capable of doing, it's just that you haven't seen it in so long that you just forgotten how to do that. So there are links on our website, and like I said, all this information is on our website. So there are links on our website that can give you links to prepare for that test. And the scores are right there. So quite often people may come to the case department or they email us, and I'm waiting for you to tell me if I made the cut. The scores are right there, so you can look at your results and you can tell yourself. And that's why we put them there, so folks aren't waiting for us to advise them. If you don't do well, you can reset. Some folks decide just to go ahead and do the preparatory classes. It's a personal decision. Typically, I would encourage someone, if they don't do well on the first time, particularly if they didn't prepare for it, to reset it And that's not done through CASE, that's done through the admissions department. And like I said, all of this is on our website. Some people may already have their IGC GCSEs in math and English, and if it's a C or above in the extended IGCS math and English, then you can send us a copy of your certificate and we will accept them. Or if you've done the IB program and you have scores of 5 and above in math and English, or perhaps you did the AP and you have scores of 4 and above in math and English. Or perhaps you've already done college level English and math, we will accept that transcript. Or if you have an associate degree or higher, we will accept a copy of your degree. So like we said, we have done many pathways for you to demonstrate that. I'm going to talk about the steps. So that's the first step. Please do not move on to step 2. I'm going to both explain step 2 until you have received in writing from us that you can move on to step 2. And this is important because it speaks volumes about the individual. How well do you follow the instructions? Immediately we're able to assess what type of individuals we're dealing with. And it may appear like, oh my God, they're being so punitive, but in healthcare, details are everything. Following instructions is so important. You just imagine if you're looking after a patient and you don't follow the directions for that medication, it could be a case of life or death. So we say just start practicing that way of being now. So step 2, say you've met the eligibility requirement, you will receive something in writing from us to say yes, and you would send that information. Did I put it on there? You would send that information to Zoom. That information should be sent at cna@college.bm, and I have that on a later file, on a later page, so you'll see that as well. But like I said, all of this is on the website. So step 2, and we're asking for your patience because we are doing a totally new process for our nursing assistants. We found that the administration around this step has become so daunting, and we just don't have the capacity as individuals to manually manage this. And so now we're going to do a digitalized system. I haven't put all those details yet because I do need to confer with our IT person if it's a definite go, and we will give you those details once you demonstrated that you've met the eligibility requirement of step 1. So what will happen in step 2, you'll get a conditional registration form. And the reason that it will be conditional is because you will note that we have to require a number of screenings. Those screenings need to be on prior to you being able to register. We are no longer accepting them after the fact. And the reason we're no longer accepting them after the fact is because folks get in the program and then it becomes a cat and mouse game of handing your screen, handing your screen. We've had students that have done the program and have never attended a clinical because they will not hand in their screen. Why register for the program? We don't want to get into all of that psychology with individuals. What we know is people that are invested in the program, that are invested in their future, they submit their clinical, they submit their screenings and they're able to do their clinical. So now what happens is you get a conditional registration form. That conditional registration form gives you access to a Bermuda College account where you will upload all these documents. So you will be responsible for uploading the documents. You will not bring them into the PACE department. You will not email them to myself or Ms. Bourne. You will have what is called a student portal, and you will upload your documents. And so I'll just go through what the documents are. So the first one is the police, and I put them in a specific order because these are the ones that are at the top are the ones that typically take the longest to get back. So that's why I put them at the top, because they are going to be your first priority if you decide that you wish to enroll in the program. So your first is going to be a police vetting report, and that's done from Bermuda Police Service. You'll contact them and let them know you need a vetting report, and they'll advise you on how you can go about that. Cost of that is $100. Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. Sometimes they do put a rush on it. but I wouldn't risk it. I would say if you decide you've met step one, get on that immediately. The minute you get the approval to say yes, you can move on to step two. Strongly encourage you to do that. The second thing will be the drug screening. We only accept the drug screen. We'll take questions at the end. So if you could just write your question down, we'd be happy to answer questions at the end. The drug screening is done at Employee Health through King Edward Memorial. That is the only drug screening that we accept because it is a hair follicle drug screening. We do not accept urine samples. Okay, that is another one that sometimes they have backlogs and they like to. We encourage you to go ahead and schedule that right away. The third is a 250-word essay on why you would like to engage in this program. Yes, but do that because this is definitely a calling. It's not a job. If you're looking for a job, I would encourage you to please have a look on PACE's website. We do have some other certificate programs where you may want employment, but this is a rigorous job. You're dealing with the vulnerable. It's a very sensitive job, and so it does take a special type of person. So this is not one of those places you just come say, "Look, I just need to get a job. I know after I do this program and get a job." The type of work that this entails, you will not last in it. And we've seen it. We've seen it where people like, no, it wasn't for me. And so we can talk about viewing other career options. You can even visit with our career counselors if you're just looking for employment. You need a copy of your current health insurance certificate. You have to have health insurance while you do this program. And that is for when you go into the clinical setting. If anything happens, you need to ensure that you do not become a Bermuda College liability and that you are insured. You have to have a tuberculosis test, and that is typically done with the clinic, a hepatitis B test, a tetanus shot, a flu shot, SCARS training, and the American Heart Foundation Healthcare Provider CPR 2-person certificate. Now, this will be the only thing that if you do not have to wait for case to arrange, because we don't accept insurance and we don't accept rare fraud. This is done through through the hospital. Some folks have it, but very few people do. So what will happen is you will, once you've met the eligibility requirement, you'll get an acceptance letter with a conditional case registration form that will allow you to upload all your documents. The cutoff time for that will be August 22nd, 2022. Please be mindful, like I said, the acceptance letter and the conditional registration form does not guarantee you a spot. So this is really how we do it. If 50 people show up and meet the eligibility requirement, 50 people get conditional acceptance letters, get acceptance letter and conditional registration form. So if it's something you wish to do, then we encourage you to move with urgency so that you can secure your spot. So once you've completed step 2, all your documents are uploaded, you filled out your conditional registration form, then it'll give you the clearance to fully secure your spot and register. If you are in need of financial assistance, please be sure to follow. I'll go on the next step. So you have to be registered first in order to apply for financial assistance. And so if you go prior to, I'll give you the links and you can have a look around so you know that you're prepared for that process as well. But they will not accept your registration form until they register. So that's why I put that little piece in there, and then we will sort your CPR. So I'm just going to give you a recap. And like I said, be patient with us. This is a new process that we've just designed in order to eliminate all the admin and the back and forth around the screening. So we're empowering the students that they can go ahead and upload the documents themselves. So you'll complete step 1, and that's the eligibility requirement. The different pathways were listed. It's all on our website. Once you complete step 1, you would get an email from us at CNA@college.em to proceed to step 2. So in order for you to send in your eligibility requirements, send it to CNA@college.em. Please don't send it to Ms. Vaughn or myself. We get such a large amount of emails that we literally had to keep creating email box just for the certificate of nursing assistant program. So that's where we go to look for all of our emails and the like. So we just ask that you send it there, because sometimes students will say, I sent it, and I'm like, well, I've claimed the box and I don't see it, and it's in my box. I have several other programs, and it can easily get buried, so it's easier if you just use the CNA. Once you complete step 2, you'll be able to complete the registration process for your spot in the program. And then if you need to apply for financial assistance, I would strongly encourage you. That is not managed by my division. It's actually managed by a whole separate department. It's held in the highest of confidentiality. If you feel that you will need to apply, I would encourage you, because quite often we see students get stuck midway, and then they're not able to register for the second half of the course. And we are not allowed to have you sit in a class if you haven't finished payment and if you haven't registered, so now you're missing class. And so it becomes a real snowball effect. So I just encourage folks to go ahead, done on a needs basis, and typically you get anywhere from 30 to 80% funding. It's just for your tuition. So I'm going to go over some of the costs associated with the program, and that will give you an idea if you think you're going to need assistance. Now, the funding is only applied to the tuition. So these other costs are those that will be out of pocket for you. So tuition for 2 semesters is $3,390. CPR, I have it here as 95, but I think it is a little lower than that. I'll compare and get back to you on that. Books, and these are approximate costs. Books from Bermuda College Bookstore is about 140. Your scrub top, we encourage you to get 2, because most times you're going to do your clinicals over a weekend. You may sometimes do them on an evening, but if you're doing a Saturday, Sunday, you're working 7 hours each shift. The chance, unless you have a washer, it's just probably easier from an organization standpoint if you just have your uniforms already ready. So we encourage you to get at least 2 scrub tubs. They're $25 each, so that's $2 or $50. You'll need your manual blood pressure cuff with step tube, and that's $51. And these are approximate costs, guys. It's been a while, and I know with shipping and COVID prices are going up, so I'll actually have to check with the bookstore before I send this PowerPoint out to you to just ensure that my prices are still in line. And then also, I haven't listed prices for these, because these are items that you will need, but you can purchase them anywhere. So white scrub bottoms, some folks go online, some folks get them from Medical House. Our bookstore does sell them as well. Nursing shoes, they can be white nursing shoes or white clothes and sneakers, no Crocs, so it'll have to be, and get something comfortable and sensible. Also, with the uniform, you want it to be comfortable, nothing too tight. You're bending, you're lifting, so you don't want anything showing or spilling out if you have to lift a patient. It's just not being professional. And like this one said, we encourage you to iron it, because that speaks volumes. When you see a nurse or a nursing assistant in their new uniform, automatically you have an expectation on what your care is going to look like. So be mindful of that. A watch with a second hand. Typically, we encourage you to get the lapel one, because that one's quite easy, and bandage scissors. Indirect costs, your police screening is $100. Your drug screening is $125. And I didn't put prices for this because it just depends on your provider, but these are the additional things: health insurance, tuberculosis test, tetanus shot, hepatitis B, influenza shot. Some of you may have had these already and may be up to date. We'll leave that for you to decide. I apologize because I do have some old dates in there. I did notice in an earlier slide where you saw 3 to 4 days a week, and Ms. Swan corrected it. This is an error as well. Your classes are Monday, Wednesdays from 6 to 9. Second semester registration payment due is not June 13th, so I'll make sure I change that. I'm just going to talk about the funding. This is on our website as well if you want to go and have a look, but this is the criteria for the funding, and if you wish to apply, that's the link, or if you have any questions around it, You can email financial support services at college.pm, or if you want to do a one-on-one appointment, you can just hit the Calendly and make an appointment with someone from that team. The deadline is Wednesday, August 24th. So you want to make sure that you are registered and secured before that. You see our deadline is the 22nd, and that's by design so that if people need to apply for funding, they can. So just key dates and deadlines. What you can do now, because some folks are in a state of readiness. They have the degree or they have the CPT course. You can send that now at CNA at college.pm. August 22nd, 2022 is the last day for uploading screening. Deadlining for funding is Wednesday, August 24th. And the semester dates are as follows. So it is a 2-semester program. The first semester runs from September 12th to December 19th. And those days are Mondays, Wednesdays from 6 to 9. We've been on Zoom. So we've been what you consider virtual face-to-face. We are going to go to one day being face-to-face and one day being on Zoom. So we're going to do a hybrid method as we ease back to having face-to-face classes, and then we take a break for Christmas. You do have to pass the first semester to move on to the second semester, and the dates are January 17th to April 19th, 2023. And once again, that's a Monday, Wednesday evening from 6 to 9 p.m. This is just some key dates and deadlines that we want you to be aware of. If you need to contact us, the first thing we want you to do is just go to our website, and I put the link here for the nursing assistant program. Some of you may already be familiar with it and have perused it, but like I said, all the information that we shared this evening is up there. Email is cna@college.pm, and these are the telephone numbers that we can be reached on if you have any questions that you feel like you're not understanding from the website. Okay, or if you email and you just want to talk to a person. We encourage you, though, to really empower yourself with the information. Sometimes people are so quick to pick up the phone, but they haven't read the information. And if you're planning to be a student, you get to be curious. You get to start critically thinking and really just saying, okay, let me make sure I understand. You're building a muscle for this. It is a lot of independent study surrounding this. Although we have amazing facilitators and whatnot, there is going to be a level of independence that we expect from you. And now, if we have any questions and comments, I encourage if you just want to raise your hand and we'll select you in order, and you can come off mute and ask your question. And I know there are questions because it was a lot of information. So don't be shy. You have us here. You have our undivided attention. Okay, Janae, go ahead.
Yes, hi. The only part I'm worried about is that some people have learning disabilities. Like for myself, I have learning disabilities, and I'm nervous about the tests. I have something called dyscalculia that deals with math.
Okay. Okay, so for individuals, if you can provide us a document supporting that, what we can do is make arrangements for you to have extra testing time. Sometimes we even let you go over to class, which will support students where you can get the extra time to, is that what typically happens when you need the support for test? Is it the testing or is it like the day-to-day learning?
I guess day-to-day learning, testing. Yeah, I have a government document that I have.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk offline a bit more about this specific to your case. Yeah. Okay. You want to stay behind at the answer? We can just get a little bit more information on that. Is that okay? Yeah. Good stuff. Great. What other questions do we have? I know I saw a hand raised earlier. Okay.
Yes, that
Yep.
was me. I just
Okay.
have a question about the CPT scores. I recently took mine because I just graduated high school. I
Mhm.
recently took mine and I can't find the papers. So would the college have that on document or would I have to
Yeah,
retake
you
it?
give them a call at admission and ask them if you can get a reprint. So
Okay.
you misplaced.
Yes, I misplaced it within
Okay.
graduation and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, if you could give them a call and then see it. Sometimes we are able to go in the system, but I don't want to promise you because there doesn't seem to be a consistent flow with that. So sometimes folks have called and I've been able to look in and see the testing scores. I'll take your names on and see if I can see them. But that is not always the case. So I do encourage individuals, and we do like to have a copy of it for our records because we do put it on a file for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And, oh, yes, go ahead, Ms. Tweed.
Hi, Karen. Evening. It's Joanne, Kiasa's mom. Real quick.
Oh,
How
how
you?
you doing?
I'm good. So real quick, you did mention in the beginning that because this is Kiasa's interested in doing the CNA, right? But I'm just sitting here just listening myself. You did mention about the spaces. So you're doing the introduction to the CNA, but you said not everybody is accepted. So is it because there aren't enough spaces or you have a certain quota that you look for? Like, okay, I see it's 21 participants as per your view right now. So out of the 21, I
Uh-huh.
think you have an allotted amount of spaces that you actually fill, like you only have
Yeah.
enough for 5 people, 6 people, 10 people.
We have currently, because we did transfer 2 students over from the summer program because that was under subscribed, so technically we have 18 spaces available.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's just a case of the first 18 that complete the process.
okay,
It's typically oversubscribed, but that is our capacity swing. We don't like to go more than that.
okay. And that's
Yeah.
the norm. That's now, and that's how it's always been.
That's how it's going. Actually, we increased it a couple of years ago. It used to be 15. So yeah, so the last, I would say 3 or 4 years, it's been 20, but no more than 20 because that becomes a bit much
Okay,
from a teaching standpoint. Yeah,
okay, all right.
yeah.
Thanks.
So we have had some students actually have had to wait to the following year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they have to go through that process all over again, or their information is held on
The
file?
documents are good for a year, so
Mhm.
typically those are the students that get the first spot because they already have all their documents.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome. Any other questions? We certainly encourage you because your question may be relevant to somebody else. The other thing is, I know some folks are probably a little shy and will prefer a one-on-one, but honestly, goodness, they need to claim this morning and make about 4 hours each. And so it is very difficult to try to reach Bermuda College for us to have these question answers. So I would encourage you that if you have a question, be brave and ask it because there may be somebody else here on the call that actually has the same question. Or have you ever been in a situation where somebody asks a question, you're like, yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't have thought to answer that. But yeah, what is the answer to this? So if you have any questions, please don't be afraid.
And I'm sorry again, so
No, that's fine.
just quickly, right, what is the actual reason why someone might not be accepted apart from no spaces left? Like, what would the person have to not have the requirement they may not have met in order for you all to make the decision that, okay, this person can't participate in the CNA program?
Sometimes folks just don't meet the eligibility requirement. They're just not ready. They may have been out of school for a while, and so some folks have had to actually do prep classes so that they can be ready because they've been out of school a while, they're rusty, and they say, you know, it's great value in actually taking those classes. Some folks, may have a record, and if a person has a criminal record, what we tell them to do is to go to the nursing council, get a letter saying that they'll give them clearance, because what we don't want is for the individual to do the course and then they can't register at the nursing council. So it's like they've done it in vain, and we're not the legislators, we're not the arm that polices that, we're the educators. So we'll advise them to go that direction. Some folks, their drug screening will be clean. It's various reasons, yeah, that a person may not be admitted into the program. If they meet all those markers that we listed earlier, there's no reason that they wouldn't be.
Right.
The only reason they wouldn't be allowed is if at that point the class is full. At which point we'll put them on a waiting list, but very rarely do we have individuals that drop off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Miss Smith.
Yeah.
Hi. Did I have to do the register application ever again? Because I
Yes,
was
you will, and I will have to either, because I know we have your documents.
Yeah.
So we may be able to do a test with your documents because you were under the old system. We may be able to do a test with your documents and uploading them, but for all the other students, anybody else on this poll, because you're one of the two that was registered from this summer, they students will be uploading their own documents.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I'm
why?
looking for one already.
Sorry,
then.
Tiffany, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if my volume is wrong.
It's probably my thing. I was saying, so I already got transferred in the full one then.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Can you say that again, Tiffany? I don't know
was
why.
saying, I got transferred in the full one already then.
Okay, all right. So we'll upload your document.
Yeah, I just have to sign one more document though, the drug screening one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And
right.
that's
Well, be
it.
sure to do that.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
All right then. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Any other? Oh, okay. Some questions maybe in the chat. Okay.
Hi, good evening. How are
Did
you?
someone? Okay. Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hi, yes. I noticed early in the presentation, Miss Swan did talk about like tattoos and things like that. I just wanted to know, like, is it like a strict evaluation on tattoos? Because I have like a hand tattoo, so is something like that need to be evaluated like in person to see if it's appropriate to take the course if I have tattoos that are showing.
Mhm. What I would say is, you do have it already, do not add to what you have.
Yeah.
You know, anything that's inappropriate with wording and stuff like that would have to be addressed. But
Right.
take, for instance, if you have it on your arms and things like that, you might just have to wear a long sleeve shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. But don't get, if you're serious about the course, if I was you, I wouldn't add tattoos.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, I see there's a question about how old the police vetting has to be. They cannot be over a year old. So if it's over a year old, you'd have to get it done again. And someone else has asked, what if he fails the CPT? How can you get into the program? As I mentioned earlier, you can resit the CPT. I don't advise anyone to go into it blind. Do some preparation before you go in. Like I said, where we see folks fall down is in the map. So you just want to make sure that you're prepared for that. And we said we would stay behind. That was what all right. Okay, so have we addressed everyone's questions, concerns?
Hello, do you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can.
Okay, so let's say you are not acceptance program. Are there any other noteworthy certification courses that you could recommend? And also, let's say you're also interested in, let's say, IT or or any other field. Is there any particular business, organization, or website you could possibly visit to find out about these courses or certification classes?
Yes, you can go to college.bm.
Okay.
Go to college.bm and go under PACE. You'll see continuing education, and you will see our offerings there.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Okay.
is this the only nursing course available? Maybe another one you could do. Another nursing assistant, yes.
Nursing assistant, yes, that we offer.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Just to clarify with Mr. Baptiste, we do also offer a full-time one during the summer every May, depending on what the numbers are like, but that's a shorter one, but more vigorous.
Okay, thank you. And like you said earlier, if you are worried about studying, you have study notes or resources on the website, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Thank you.
yeah. And we do offer support for students in that situation. We know one of the classes that, one of the topics that gets covered in this particular course, and we do it very early in the course, normally it's done the first week. We bring in our resources and we do it on study skills and learning styles so that students get familiar with how they learn, and suggestions are made, and the resources are there to support. Like if a student needs additional support, the college does offer those resources. And we recommend that the individual does it earlier so that, like I said, you're building up practice. You have access to our library and whatnot. So the other thing is some students advise that they just can't study at home. And it may not even be any major distractions. It's just that your home is a place of play or a place of rest, and you don't feel like studying at home. But if you build the practice of coming to the library, then you know you're getting your hours in to support your learning. So all of our resources, everything that is available to our full-time students are available to our paid students as well. Were there any other questions? Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yes.
Last one, just last point. I know from previous experiences with the college that my daughter graduated from Berkeley 2016, right? And she entered entered into Berkeley, and she was contemplating on doing the nursing program. It was under Miss Swan in 2016 or 2017. She entered the college. So my thing is, sometimes it seems discouraging. And I was talking to a few students that it was like a revolving door kind of sort of. So, and we're sitting here listening now. Her take on it is one that she felt in 2017. Now 4 years, 5 years, fast forward, and she still feels like that just from listening to this information here about the CPT. And she's been out of school for well, going 5 years now. She graduated 2016, almost 6 years. About 6 years June. So to see all these requirements and everything, and then I know you mentioned about the CPT. If someone doesn't, you know, if they're a little bit rusty. And then, you know, the two, do you all have something in place or a site where they can go to probably do some type of prep work or give them some type of insight, like just to bring them up to before they actually start the program in September it is? Like you have anywhere like any sites where they can go and just have a look, like to see, you know, just to try and build up their her skill set if she's lacking in somewhere, you know, lacking.
Yeah, what we could do though, we can send out the booklet because I know even for me, the CPT right now, I'll probably struggle as well. Believe you me. But there
It's
is a
actually on the
book-
website now.
Yeah,
Book
it
is
is.
on the website.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it gives you websites to go on and practice. It gives you sample questions. So you can do that way. The other thing that we do, we'll let you work with Teo Dill to help you out. He's our recruitment officer, and that'll prepare you for it as well. But like Ms. Smith said, you have to go in there prepared. You even on that day, making sure you have something to eat, arriving about 15 minutes ahead of time, just to get your mindset in it. But it is something that you can do, and websites that you can go on to do it, because the CPT is all at the graduating level of high school. But when you've been out for a while, like you said, it can deter you a bit. But the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll be as well, because it's also timed as well. I would highly suggest, like Ms. Smith said, just to go on these sites and practice, and let us know if you need to be if Teo Deal could help out in any way, because I've done that on numerous occasions as well.
Again, and sometimes I
We
hear
used
this,
to offer, sorry, go ahead.
sometimes you said it's timed, sometimes timed courses or assignments cause people anxiety.
Yes, exactly. No, you're right. Yeah, you are
Because-
Yeah.
absolutely right. Because we used to run a little boot camp before, and I think Teo
Yeah.
does like a quasi one. But but you're absolutely right, and I know it would cause me that same anxiety, Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can give you tips on how to get ready for it and whatnot. That's why I feel like the practice really helps.
Right.
I advise that folks just practice, do a little bit of practice each evening, just to build up confidence, to build a strategy around it. But yeah, Mr. Deal is very helpful. We used to, like Ms. Swan said, he used to offer a weekend, and he's done it for us in the past, but we stopped offering it because people weren't attending it, which was unbelievable to us, because we thought that folks would value that support, but people were not coming.
So his preparation encompasses what part of it? Because if you never done clinicals, or if you've never been in the medical field in any way, shape, or form, then what are you really preparing yourself for when you actually get into the program itself?
No, this is prep for the CPT exam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that preparation for that just make you feel a bit more comfortable and
Okay.
stuff like that. Yeah.
I
I just want to also just offer a response to it. Is when you look at what's required, it can be overwhelming. But at the end of the day, you're gonna really, really be thankful, because a lot of these things are also required when you apply for a job in healthcare. So you would have already done them, and that's what we have aligned them with. Once you get going, and if you start right now, like you can call, if you're really interested, call tomorrow and make your appointment with staff health for your drug screening. Call, fill out and complete the form for police vetting and stuff like that. So if I find like the sooner you do it, the more organized you are, the less overwhelming it can be. I mean, once you call the government clinic, they can give you all your immunization record. You know how we used to go up on the assembly hall and the nurse used to stand on the stage and give us all shots? They still keep a record of all of that. So unless you went to your doctor's office, this is just a one form that you're calling for. The list is long, but it's very inclusive. And it also aligns, like I said, to the industry. So you don't have to apply or get it again.
Excuse me, Ms. Smith.
Yeah.
I have a problem with my fan battery, and it's on 1%. It drains. So is it all right if it might go off? My fan might
Okay, that's fine. We're getting ready to wrap up anyway. That's fine.
Okay.
Thanks for letting us know.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Hi, good evening, all.
Good evening.
I'm really nervous, but I'm gonna take a leap of faith and try to do this. There was one of the people that told me I should try this, and he said I'll be good at it. But like I hear everybody else talking about testing and juggling work and doing all these other things just to stay afloat. What do you recommend? Like, I mean, for me, it's like, I see people having anxiety. I just want to be out of my comfort zone. And not only that, because my mom is ill and I want to be able to support her and help her in the best way I can. And not only for myself, for other people as well. So what would you recommend?
Can I take a
I
shot?
would definitely,
Go along, I'll go
I'm
after.
sorry, what you say, Kathy?
No, I was gonna say, I'll take a shot, but you go along and I could go after
Yeah,
you.
that's okay, you can go, you can go ahead.
I'm just gonna just share. You know, as women, I'm gonna say women, many roles, and man too, many. But I also find, like, I know my Smith and I are there as well. It seems like the roles just keep on juggling. The more prepared you are and organized, I think it would lessen your load. It's not gonna get rid of it, but would certainly make it a lot easier. Don't not wait in last minute. The more you come to class, when you come to class, the more you're prepared with your readings, the better it would be, because you'll be able to offer those or ask those informed questions. But preparation and organization will help out quite a bit. And just sharing, you know, it's okay to say, you know, ask that question, what can you do? Can you help me? Can I reach out? I think I need this person. I feel overwhelmed. Just share that with the facilitator, the clinical instructor, or myself. But communication is key. Just what Tiffany did might be sort of was sound, but guess what? That's the right way to do. You know, instead of her just falling off, she let us know she has 1% left on her phone. But that communication, we're there to help you. And the facilitators are nurses, the Smith in the helping field as well. So we're there to help you. We want you to succeed. Our success rate for this is very high for this program. Attrition rate, meaning people falling off, very low. So people do get through it, and we're there to help you, but we just need you to communicate with us. We want to empower you, don't get me wrong, but we want you to do well, know yourself. Once you do that session about your learning style, that's also going to help. A lot of people don't know how they learn, you know. They just, you know, writing down or doing things, but how do I actually learn? I mean, doing that, you're also going to succeed better and not be as frustrated. But being organized and starting that prep would help you out quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A lot of people say you have to have patience, you have to persevere, and you don't give up. So
thank you.
You know, I stand by that. So
that's right. And always remember, other people have done it, and so can you. We have faith in all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And we want you guys to remember we're a community college, and so we have the resources to support you. We have counselors that you may need to just go and talk to someone. Like you may just say, I'm feeling really stressed. Like I'm taking this course, I'm trying to manage my mom, trying to manage my kids, my job, whatnot. And I just need to offload. And so that is available to you free of charge because you're a Bermuda College student. Like I said, we have the library. We have the student center for, what is it, class for success. I'm sorry, they renamed themselves and I keep wanting to go back to the old name. So we have the resources to undergird you, so don't learn bullshit. Know that we have the support service, and we find with the PACE students, because they are working adults and are not spending a whole lot of time on our campuses, that they don't avail themselves of those services, but they are there and they do make a difference when students reach out and ask for the support and ask for the help. Yeah. And getting a team play with your fellow students, guys, is going to make all the difference, you know. But someone may share a strategy that works very well for them, and you may say, I'm taking that strategy and applying it myself. So that's the other thing. Use the power of your team.
Okay.
Support.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Okay. So, like I said, have a look at our website. I'm going to make corrections on this and just confirm with our IT person so that we can send this out to you so you can look through this again. But like I said, majority of the stuff is on our website. So if in the interim you're excited and you're like, oh, I just want to go and have a look. For individuals that have the 50 CPT and you're feeling some anxiety around that, go look at those links on our website, because there are actual practice sites. The other thing you can do, a tip, is Google Accuplacer, ACCUPLACER, And it's different apps that you can download to prepare you. If someone wants to do a one-on-one with Teo deal, or maybe a group of you feel like you like to meet with him, he can hop on Zoom. He actually did that for my daughter because she had to sit the CPT this year. And what I really valued about that session was he gave her a strategy. He gave her a strategy on how to approach the exam. So when she went in, she had alleviated that anxiety that a lot of students have about going into these standardized exams. And when I really empowered her because she had her strategy and she ended up doing very well. So I would just really encourage you to use our resources. That's what they're there for. Okay, we want to see you. That's the thing. We want to set you up for success. We definitely want to set you up for success. And we don't leave folks alone once they get in these programs. We don't leave you and just say, okay, figure it out. Yeah. Okay.
Good evening.
All right. Good evening.
Hey, are you able to leave contact details for Teo for people that have to like sit the CPT or etc.?
T-Dill at college.bm.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. And what he might suggest is if there's a great deal of interest, he may just ask you guys to do it as a group because he has done that in the past. Okay, well, thank you for your time. We hope that this has been helpful. Look forward to hearing from you. I'll put our contact information up again if anybody just wants to screenshot that or take a picture of that. Like I said, that's the link to the nursing assistant program. And so go and have a look. Even last year's information session is up on there, but it's also a video that describes the process, but we've kind of changed it. So I don't know if that would be any help. But our emails are as well and contact number. Okay. If you do decide to call and you don't get anyone, leave a message because we are still doing remote working. We're doing a hybrid experience right now. So sometimes folks say, oh, you weren't working. No, I'm always working. It just may be I'm not on site, but if you leave a voicemail, I'll call you back. Okay. All right, well, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful evening. Continue to stay safe, and we look forward to hearing back from you. And then the young lady wanted to stay behind, right? Still there, or did she drop off? Okay, yes. Janae, you're gonna stay behind, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right.
I would like to stay behind.
Howdy.